So I was researching the next video topic and I chose the iconic and what some might call controversial photo, Afghan Girl by Steve McCurry, who is an absolute legend of photojournalism. And this photo essentially made him very, very rich, made him a household name amongst photographers. However, this photo is marred by accusations of exploitation and coercion on the part of Steve McCurry. So I thought this was a great story to do a deep dive on. However, as I was clicking around and, getting into the topic, I came across videos that made me question a lot of things. And in particular, this video here by The Art of Photography. And essentially there is good arguments that these accusations against Steve McCurry were either unfounded or overstated. And at that point, I thought to myself, you know what, maybe this isn't the best topic to get into. I don't want to get involved in spreading unfounded, unsubstantiated accusations. However, in this video though, there is a gentleman here on the right. He goes by the name of Jan Schneider, and currently he is the editor-in-chief of Peter Pixel, which is a very well regarded online publication on photography. And he mentions a couple of stories that he'd covered in the past. One of them made me speechless. I thought this was so laughably silly, just an absolute farce. I could not believe this was true. So I had to read this article. And in this article, Schneider writes about a photography contest owner and organizer who not only entered his own competition, but won it. And not by a little, but by a lot. Yes, you heard that right. This guy set up a contest, got a bunch of really good prizes to entice people to submit their entries, got a bunch of judges to judge the competition, and then he won the whole damn thing. What? I thought the story ended there. Sometimes a story is just as interesting as its headline. I thought there was nothing else to see there. But then I thought to myself, you know what? I owe it to this man. I owe it to Sal Cincotta. I owe it to Sal Cincotta, the owner of this contest, to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there was a fair and reasonable explanation as to why he won his own competition. So I read the article and tried to do as much digging around as I could to sort of find an explanation for it. However, as I did so, the explanations and the defenses that they give become even more bizarre, and if anything, raise more questions. So buckle up, boys and girls, but let's get into it. Shutterfest 2017. So this is the event at the center of the controversy. As the name suggests, this is a festival / conference for all things photography. There are numerous workshops and seminars so you can pick up tips from working professionals and learn new skills. There are even models on hand who you can book so you can shoot yourself and then build out your own portfolio. But one of the main pulls of this event is the photo competition. In this photo competition, they seek out photographers of all genres, wedding photographers, portrait photographers, landscape photographers, and they ask them to submit their best photos to then be judged by respected names in the industry. And at the end of it, there are prizes for the winners. However, when it came to announcing the winners of the 2017 Shutterfest photo contest, there was immediate uproar from the photo community. Out of the 17 categories in the competition, Sal Cincotta, the owner and organizer, finished in the top 3 in 11 of them. 11 out of 17 of those categories, Sal Cincotta finished in the top 3. But not only that, he won the main prize, the Grand Jury Award. Give me a minute here, I have to list them all out. Creative / commercial, first place. Creative / fashion, first place. Portrait / engagement, second place. Portrait / general, third place. Portrait slash seniors first and second place. Wedding slash couple together first, second, and third place. In that category, he took up the whole podium. And finally, wedding slash alone first and second place. Like, I mean, he didn't go home at all. He went huge. He absolutely dominated this competition. He was the LeBron James of photography. He was Leo Messi, Ronaldo, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods combined. He was all of those on that day. Unbelievable. Never. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it before, or I don't think we'll ever see anything like that ever again. Honestly, I don't know why anyone would have bothered showing up. I mean, how good were his photos? All I could find was one photo, the photo that won him the main prize. And yeah, it's a pretty good photo. Like, there are nice clean lines, there's great perspective. Like, this couple looks tiny and it's on like this sharp wedge of metal from the looks of things. It looks like the Lion King, but like on top of, on Pride Rock, but like a industrial concrete jungle version of it. And there's like this clean background. Like, yeah, it's a great photo. It would already look awful for the integrity of the competition to see the owner essentially do a clean sweep of all the categories. But it gets so much worse when you look a bit deeper. Because you see, this competition was a pay-to-play competition. In order to compete, you have to pay a fee. And in this case, it was $25 per photo. I'll offer my thoughts on the ethics of pay-to-play contests later on in the video. So presumably, people submitted multiple photos in order to increase their chances of winning the prize. And I can only assume that these competitors had no idea that Sal would be competing at all. If you had lost this competition, you would rightly have felt like you had been robbed. There is clearly a blatant conflict of interest here that compromises the fairness of the contest. Now, I would have been hesitant to make this video because this scandal happened, 7 years ago now, in 2017. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe let's just hold off before making this. Maybe, enough time has passed and he has sort of been remorseful for what he did. Maybe he has issued an apology. But sadly, the opposite is true. At the time of the scandal, he had this to say: "Love your haters. Let them provide the fuel to greater achievement. Let their ignorance and stupidity shine bright for the world to see. I have been at this for 10 years, and for 10 years I have been called every name you can imagine, both publicly and privately. Most of these people I have never met, nor exchanged a single negative word with, yet their insecurity and ignorance shines bright. They hide behind keyboards and screens and say things they would be bitch-slapped for saying to someone's face. Use this to motivate you. Gather all the haters you can. It means you are ruffling some feathers and pissing people off because you are doing something right and something wrong. I would rather get out there and piss people off than sit behind the computer bitching about everything, because while I'm pissing this small group off, nobody's off. I am inspiring a whole new crop of photographers and entrepreneurs to reach for more. Oh my God. I am sure you have all had your own level of negativity, haters, doubters, cancer in your life. Let it roll off your back and keep moving forward. Own your success." Wow. I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, this guy dominated the contest, put together by himself, and presumably kept all the prizes on top of the money he collected in entry fees. And of course, you have to subtract the cost for the event itself. But then he has the audacity to then say that this competition was for the benefit of all the other photographers who, by the way, lost. None of them won. He basically won the whole thing. Where's the benefit for them? Their work wasn't seen because unless you're one of the winners of the contest, who's going to be seeing your work? They then also gave him money. So where's the benefit here? How are they achieving greatness? So on top of this insane post, Cincotta defended his wins and the integrity of the entire competition by vehemently asserting that the photos were judged blindly. What that means is that none of the judges knew who shot what. And that's all fine and dandy, but take that with a pinch of salt. They are the organizers. Who knows how much transparency that actually was? Who can verify those claims? As far as I'm aware, you just have to take their word for it, right? But Cincotta also mentions in the article that he had been doing this for 7 years prior to that event. It boggles my mind that he managed to get away with it for this long. And he also claimed that owners of photo contests entering their own contests was the norm. And in case it isn't obvious, no, it is not the norm. But just when you thought his defense couldn't be any more ridiculous, Cincotta and the judges as well repeated that the judging protocol was in line with how the PPA and the WPPI run their own. However, with the simplest of Google searches, you'll find that their rules, at least the WPPI rules, clearly state that employees of Photo District News and each of their affiliates, subsidiaries and agents and their immediate family member, spouse, parent, child, sibling and their respective spouses, regardless of where they live or persons living in the same house or such, individuals whether or not related, are not eligible to enter or win a prize. Sal Cincotta owns and organized Shutterfest. Therefore, he is most definitely an employee and therefore could not be less eligible to enter or win a prize. He could not be more affiliated with the competition. And this is the main defense that they hold on to. As you read the article, it also becomes very clear from their own words that the judges knew Cincotta very well, which then puts into question how this could have been blind judged at all. According to this article, they show him a lot of praise. For example, they say that the competition is better for having him in it. And they were all very familiar with his work, so it would be safe to assume that they would also recognize his style, even in a blind judging. Even one of the judges themselves had this to say about him. Rojas continued, "To me, if anyone said that they did not recognize Sal's images, they are either lying or they aren't paying attention. Because he markets Shutter magazine, the affiliated magazine, the way he does his work. You have to be blind not to know his work." What? But sure, we can blind judge his work. No problem. According to the judges at Shutterfest, the protocol dictated that if you recognize someone's work, then you had to recuse yourself from judging it. But by this judge's own words, Cincotta's images should never have been judged in the first place, since everyone would have recognized that it was his. Again, you could just take their word for it and believe that they are, actually blind judging it. But there's no way of verifying it. As far as I'm aware, there was no proof of any sort of verification, and there's just no way of knowing. You just kind of have to take their word, which to me isn't good enough. It's fair to criticize and be extremely skeptical of a competition where the owner not only wins the damn thing but keeps all the prizes. To this day, Cincotta maintains that owners entering into their own contest is commonplace, which it isn't. I tried to find like an official statement, something from the organization with regards to the whole scandal in 2017. I went on their website, but it seems like Cincotta has done his best to scrub the internet of its existence. If you go on the website, this is what you'll find. Is what Cincotta did against the law? I don't know. But is it? When there's prize money involved? I don't know. Maybe. But as far as I'm aware, he didn't break any laws. It's his competition. As you can see, he can set whatever rules he wants, but it does leave a huge stain on his reputation. And without a doubt, it puts into question the validity of any other photo contest. You see, this video isn't really about this one single ego-filled, holier-than-thou, self-proclaimed savior of photography. But it's about the wider problem of bad actors who exploit aspiring photographers under the guise of being a helping hand. You see, I would love to say that Shutterfest is a one-off, but you only need to be on Instagram for like 5 minutes, before you're being advertised to enter some random photo contest for which you have to pay an entrance fee, and you then stand a chance to get international recognition for your work. Just as recently as August of last year, there was another pay-to-play contest called the International Pet Photography Awards, and they revealed that they were going to allow judges to compete. As a photographer, there will be many instances where people will try to exploit your desire to succeed. Sometimes it's blatantly obvious, like Shutterfest, but then other times it's not so obvious. As is the case with photography aggregator pages, sort of photo curation pages on Instagram, or magazine features. From the outside, it looks like these curation pages are just where they show great images, where they just want to show the world these great photos by great photographers. However, what a lot of people don't realize, and what a lot of new photographers don't realize, is that looks can be deceiving. A lot of these photo pages have very large followings. So naturally, as a new photographer, you think to yourself, wow, if only I could be featured on this page that has a lot of followers, then I can get the necessary exposure to then grow my own following, and then, be able to get hired or have people pay for my work. However, the reality is that a lot of these pages on Instagram are essentially just advertising billboards. The people who run these pages will often infiltrate your DMs, offering exposure in exchange for a fee, as if there's some sort of gallery that runs marketing on your behalf. Unfortunately, many photographers think that this is a great idea, and they think that this is a great way to get their work out there, and they pay whatever the fee is. And sadly, many photographers don't realize that they're being taken advantage of. The truth is that many of these curation pages simply just show your work on their page, and that's it. They upload your work onto their page, and that's it. Very rarely is there any sort of material benefit for the photographer. You may see a temporary spike in engagement. When they click on your photo, they see who's tagged, and then they click on their tag, and then it directs them to your page. And you might see a little bump, maybe 50 extra likes. I don't know. It's never that much. And therefore, very rarely does this actually translate into significant growth for the business, significant growth in your following, and therefore any sort of real tangible benefit for your business. My point with this video is that if you're a photographer, you have to be vigilant and be aware of these things. For example, you may even be approached by a magazine offering to do like a cover on you, or to feature you on their magazine, and you think this is a great opportunity, and they'll talk about how big their readership is, the brands that they work with and all that. They'll then say, oh, but it costs you £400. And this leads me to the ethics of these sort of paid avenues for growth as a photographer or any sort of creative. Because let's be honest here, the only real reason you would ever enter a photo contest is because you believe that entering such a contest will help you, gain exposure, or help get your name out there, and therefore you'll be hired. And sure, you can claim that it's to improve your skills, but you can do all of that for free. The reason I find these paid contests, these curation pages on Instagram and any other entities of that sort unethical is because their survival solely depends on your work, on the work of photographers, without which they would die. They would cease to exist. Without photographers' photos, there would be no photo contest, there would be no curation page, there would be nothing to feature in their magazines. So for them to then charge the photographer for this, to me, is deeply unethical. Because a lot of these entities, they have a large audience, they have a large readership. Shutterfest is able to bring in lots of advertising from it. So they're making money from your work on both ends. They're able to get money from the photographer, but also then bring in money from advertisers as well. But you might be thinking to yourself, aren't these curation pages, aren't photo contests just some, like another way of marketing? Like, aren't they just acting like a marketing agency in a way, in the same way a gallery does? Let me explain the key difference here between a photo contest, a magazine that pays for exposure, and a marketing agency and a gallery. It can make sense for a photographer to pay a gallery to feature their work, or like a marketing agency, because these two things will put in the work for you. They will do the legwork to get your name out there, to put your name in magazines. They'll do advertising. They will do online advertising, print advertising. They will call up clients to see if to see if they want to purchase your work. They will also put on events. They will frame the work for you and do all kinds of things that most photographers either don't have the skills to do, or the time or the energy to do themselves. But on top of that, they have a vested interest in your success. If a gallery sells your work, yes, they take a huge chunk of the profits, but that's because they put in a lot of work that you didn't do. And they only make money if the work sells, right? If the work doesn't sell, they lose money. And the same goes with marketing agencies. They won't get repeat custom from the photographer if they don't make money for the photographer. Does that make sense? It's a win-win situation if their work sells. Whereas with curation pages, photo contests, any other entities of that like, if the photographer loses or if the photographer's work doesn't sell, it doesn't matter to them. They've already made their money. Unless you win like a Nat Geo competition or something at that level, then winning a contest really doesn't mean much. Now, I don't want the message of this video to be misconstrued. I think there can be great value from being featured in a magazine or, a curation page or entering a photo contest. However, it shouldn't be done in exchange for a fee. Do not pay for it. You need to understand your value as a photographer. These interactions should be a collaboration, not a transaction. There are plenty of photo contests that do not charge you. There are plenty of photo curation pages that don't charge you. Most of the good ones will actually ask you for your permission beforehand before they post your photo. And there are tons of fantastic magazines that frequently call for submissions from photographers because it's in their interest to show great work. And generally, readers appreciate this so much more because they know that the work that they are then seeing is authentic, is genuine. They know that the curator of this page genuinely likes their work, genuinely likes the photographer's work, and aren't just being paid to show it. But if you're a photographer trying to get your name out there, I have to impress on you these two things. And by the way, I'm by no means a super successful photographer. I'm not a successful photographer by any means. I'm still trying to figure it out. But what has worked for me so far, because a lot of things haven't worked for me, but what has worked for me so far is two things. One, working on your craft and building out your portfolio, constantly improving your portfolio. And two is forming relationships with clients and potential clients. And what do I mean by relationships? I mean being a nice person, being a trustworthy person, and also just being a likable person. And I could make a whole video on this topic, but I'll just wrap it up here. It's been 7 years since the Shutterfest fiasco, and Sal Cincotta has wiped the internet of its existence. By the way, he's still active on Instagram, and from the looks of things, Shutterfest is still thriving. However, it finally seems that Sal has stopped competing. So at least for now, it seems that he has learnt his lesson. First of all, thank you for watching this video, but also thank you so much to everyone who watched the last video. I did not expect it to do that well. Do subscribe if you did enjoy this video, because there are tons more videos. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram. I post stories pretty frequently, just any sort of work I'm doing outside of YouTube. With all that said, I'll see you all in the next one.